another gentleman. It's important. I thought it was important that we have a way to try to help. Canine Storm actually has done that. She's done a great job, and I think she's a great benefit to this community. So when I hear the things on Facebook, it is really disturbing because, again, she's there to help us. But the disclaimer is Canine Storm is nothing but a tool. If we don't have a handler to run her, that tool just lays useless. That's why we need help. Body-worn cameras. Every officer now has been affixed with a camera. That was one of my other. Looking ahead, I look forward to probably the governor to mandate it at some point that every police officer in the state of Ohio has to have a body-worn camera. So I wrote the grant. We got 100% funded, and every officer now has that camera. Why? Because it protects the township, it protects the officer, and it protects the public. Because as you know, there's a lot of false accusations out there and some other misconduct. The body-worn cameras is kind of like a protector for everybody. It's very important, but it's very expensive. So, matter of fact, in today's paper, you'll see that some of the area agencies also got more money. Warren Township got a few dollars, and it's getting harder and harder to get those dollars, though, because they've realized they've hit the majority of the departments. Next year, I'll write the same grant and ask for more money to store the data, because not only do you have to have money to buy the cameras, but you got to have a lot of money to store that data. Each camera costs $37 a month for cloud. So you do the math, it's almost $12,000 for 3 years. So it's expensive. But it's going to be mandated, I can assure you. Because the governor, as Governor DeWine is pushing, again, I think it's going to be mandatory here shortly. 4 bulletproof vests. Well, how do you have 4 bulletproof vests and you have 8 officers? Well, because when I came in, fortunately, I came in at the right rotation, so we're able to do 4 officers now, and then we did 4 officers 2 years later. A bulletproof vest is only good for 5 years. After 5 years, the manufacturer wants you to take that vest and throw it in the garbage. Because of the body, perspiration, heat, they deteriorate rapidly. They won't guarantee you that they'll work. So they last 5 years. The generator, that actually was not just the police department, it was an actual township one. Talking to Trustee Fee, we knew the county had some ARP money. And we were like, hey, can we have a little bit? We needed a generator to power the building. So in the middle of these storms, our officers could still utilize the station to do reports or whatever. In the past, that was it. It was just a dark building, had nothing. Fortunately, working with the county commissioners, they approved the ARP money for $10,225. We were able to get a generator for the entire building, which also housed, at the time, zoning, fiscal, road, cemetery, and police. Now, since we have this wonderful building and the trustees, it's just us and the road department, and talking to the road superintendents, they're fortunate because now they're just not shut down if we have a storm that knocks out power. They're able to do welding and stuff, so it benefits every department. Rifle locker, it was 100% grant. OTARMA, which is our insurance for the townships, they provide police and fire a little bit of money every year back. And I bought it, a rifle locker. Because one of the exciting things now that we have in our cruisers are rifles. How did we get the rifles? Well, we were able to use a little bit of allotment of evidence that we had for guns, and we were able to sell them with the court's approval and finally get rifles in our cruisers. We were able to get rifle locks in our cruisers. Working with Lordstown PD, they made a substantial donation to us and gave us some locks. We needed a place to put the rifles when they're in the station. We didn't have that before. It was very common practice that all the guns would just get locked into a closet. We're better prepared today because of stuff like that.
I got it from here, I'll take it. Okay. I think we're gonna go, yep, so I'll take it, Larry. Because I want to go back. I just want to back up a little bit. I think I failed to do the bottom when I talked about this slide here, I did tell you 17.8% of your taxes is what is going to Champion Township. I didn't catch the note over there, in case you were wondering, of that, the breakdown on that is 37% of that goes to the police, fire gets 37.5%, road gets 16%, and the general fund gets 9.5%. So if you're wondering what that breakdown is, sorry I missed that note earlier. The other thing I did want to point out, as I stood there and thought, I missed, on this slide here where I was showing you the increases in the expenses. So, you know, obviously people is the driver of that. But Champion Township is not really different than any other township in the state of Ohio. I want you to know that I just recently was looking at the state report that comes out every year on wages. And this same trend that we see from, say, 2021 up there to 2024, 2025 is common across the state of Ohio. So there's nothing different. This is not an anomaly or something that's going on here in Champion. This is what we're seeing across the state. And that was a survey that was taken out of, I think, about 976 different townships, school districts, etc. So that's something that's not anything different for us.
Wait, Joe, before you go any further, I'd like to touch base why we're at that point. And I know Doug over here is probably laughing, oh, here he goes on his soapbox. But the idea, there's a reason why we're all here. Champion's just a little further down the tunnel than every other townships right now. You can thank your state legislature. I don't point finger. In 2010, the state government came out and took away the local government fund. Did anybody read the Tribune today? Besides you, Bob. Warren City's on there talking, Councilman O'Brien mentioned the state taking the local government fund. In 2010, they took the local government fund from 3.8, or 3.68, excuse me. They gave the townships 1.6, less than half the money. You say, wow, well, can you do that if at home? Can you have less than half of your income and still do what you want to do? But if you look in the paper, what's the state legislature? We have a marijuana bill that was passed over a year ago. A year ago. And they're more worried about the tax dollars than they are passing the actual legislation that our officers have to work with every day. So it's the local government fund. We just don't have that money coming from the state that we used to get, and that's part of the reason. Thanks.
So all of that brings us to the proposed police levy. So what the proposal is for this levy is an additional levy for a period of 5 years. It will be an election on May 6th, 2025. It is a 1.6 mil that will generate an estimated $413,000 per year. The cost to homeowner is $56 per year for every $100,000 in valuation. And that's $56 per year, not half a year. I think at this point, we'll turn it over to Martha. So welcome to Martha.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. Go ahead to my first slide, and I'll get right into what I have to say. I wanted to try to give a little bit of an explanation about how property taxes work, because one of the things I found out over the last 2 years being your auditor is that a lot of people don't fully understand that, and so I just thought I'd try to explain it as simply and as quickly as I can. Property taxes are assessed by mills. A mill is 0.1% of the assessed value of your property. Constitutionally and by statute in Ohio, the first 10 mills, 1%, is unvoted. This is commonly referred to as inside millage, or unvoted millage too, and is divided among the political subdivisions according to the statutory formula. Anything above the 10 mills must be voted on by the citizens of a political subdivision. Why we're here, you have a levy on the ballot. The role of the county auditor is to value the property and apply the effective millage to the assessed value of the property in each taxing district. Assessed is 35% of the appraised value. The role of the county treasurer is to send out the tax bills and collect your taxes. After the collection, my role resumes, and we do what's called settlement, or the settling of the collected taxes on the various entities. You heard me mention effective rate. Here's what that means, as simply as I can put it. Not all levies are created equal. Some are voted to raise a set amount of revenue. When your fiscal officer was discussing the current levies, you'll notice they're only raising so much every year. They're going to only raise that amount. It varies slightly because sometimes you have new construction. Sometimes it goes the other way. You may have a property that was not exempt before and is now exempt now. But more or less, it stays around the same amount. Some are set at a certain millage rate, which does not change. I just talked about the inside millage. That never changes. Each taxing district will have a combination of the different types of levies, which are combined along with the inside millage to have an effective rate. My role is to submit the full rates and the total property values for each taxing district to the state for the calculation of the effective rate. As the total value of a taxing district increases, your effective rate decreases. Those calculated effective rates are applied to the values to calculate the taxes for each property. Your effective rate and your full rate are displayed both on your tax bill and the online property record. Champion's full rate is currently 77.75 mils or 7.775%, but the effective rate is currently 57.67 mils or 5.767%. So this looks familiar because your fiscal officer did the same thing.
Yours looks nicer than mine.
I want to draw your attention. First of all, I didn't do the whole bill. This belongs to someone, and I didn't want to. I wanted to keep her personal information private, and I want to make sure I mention everything that I wanted to mention on here. If you look at the right-hand side, and this would be on your tax bill that you get from the treasurer, this would be the middle of the tax bill. On the right-hand side, you'll see at the top of this, you'll see the tax rate, what I mentioned, 77.75. And then you see the effective rate. It goes out a little further in the decimals than I mentioned, but it is the effective tax rate. Then there's a non-business credit rate, and that is an automatic credit that's given to any real property that is not intended for business use. Below that, you'll see the owner occupancy credit. And that's given on real property that's owner occupied. But here's the thing about owner occupancy. It must be applied for. So check your tax bills to see if you have owner occupancy, because that will reduce your taxes. If you don't have owner occupancy, you can apply for it in my office or go online. I even have some forms here with me tonight if you're interested. Going further down, we get the calculation of the taxes. The gross tax is the taxation at the full rate. So what it would be if you were taxed at your full millage. The reduction is that difference between the full rate and the effective rate, and there's a subtraction there. And then that comes down to your current taxes. Non-business credit, which I already mentioned, that's automatic if it's not being used for business. Owner occupancy credit, not automatic. You have to apply for it and you have to reside in a home. Homestead is available for over 65. For most people that get it, it's income-based. Now, if you've had it since 2013 or before, you're grandfathered in without the income restriction, as long as you've had it continuously, but there is an income restriction. The other exception to this is if you are 100% disabled veteran. You get homestead without income restriction, and you actually get double homestead. So if you know a veteran who is 100% disabled, they should come in and apply for that. So then you go on down and you have the amount due for the half. Now, your fiscal officer talked about the distribution, and I'll point out, she pointed out the school gets the bulk of it. I remember as a trustee, when I was Farmington trustee, I would have people come to me and say, I pay all these taxes, why aren't my roads better? And I would show them my tax bill. And I would explain to them, this is what we get as a township, and this bill, you're getting $309.99 from this taxpayer, and that's divided in the way that your fiscal officer explained. So I think it's really important for people to understand what they're paying and how they're paying it for. So she's reviewed some of this, but I'll talk a little bit about it. What's the impact of the proposed levy? The police levy that's on your ballot, as she mentioned, is 1.6 mils, and the translation of mils is 0.16%. $56 annually per $100,000 appraised value. Now, $100,000 appraised is $35,000 assessed. We tax on 35% of the appraised value. That is your assessed or taxable value. So 35,000 times 0.0016, that's 0.16%, equals $56. As she mentioned, the revenue from this will be $413,000 estimated revenue. We certified that as an estimated revenue based on the total assessed taxable value of the property in the taxing district, which would be the township, of $258,061,350. And if you have any questions, we'll talk about that later, but if you have any further questions, you can always contact me at my office. I have my cards here.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Okay, so at this time, that concludes the presentation. So if there are questions, we could try to entertain questions and answers at this point. Anyone has any questions?
Aside from making up the shortfall, which is projected, how will the 400,000 plus change the department in terms of adding additional services or adding additional capability?
So again, that's actually a great question. How are we going to use it? One, we won't see any of that money until later in the year anyways. So we're actually going to have to borrow it from proposed taxes, I believe, and get it in the end, so we're going to have a setback there. The thing we really need to do is, one, hire off. As of, April 1st, or again, Officer Mackey here, who's been here 25 years to this township, is leaving. We have another officer with a broken leg, may not return, at least 5 officers. You can see what we need to hire. Well, first we need to stabilize, quit putting Band-Aids on bleeding arteries and stabilize. Fix it.
Excuse me, how are you going to hire if the wages that you pay are already so far?
Well, that's where we work with the trustees and we have a collective vision. And it's unfortunate, when I say that now, I've always seemed to have a good working relationship with our trustees, but we have a unified vision where this township needs these officers and our fire, but we need to look at that. Yes, it is hard. It is very hard. Officer Carroll back there in the back will tell you, being a female law enforcement officer, there's all agencies around here looking for that. She stays because she loves our community. She lives here, so she wants to stay. So that is what's attractive. But initially, yes, it'll be difficult. It's difficult to hire part-time officers right now. I struggle. We are at, right now, you can go on Elm Road to be a barista at Starbucks and make more than a Champion Township police officer part-time. It's just tough. I mean, because for years they've had to struggle with the budget. So yes, there are hurdles, but when you have 3 trustees and chiefs that are able to work together, I think we can accomplish it. I know there's no great, I can't just give you this is what we're going to do on this day, but that's what we're looking to do. Stop losing officers, which I think we have 5 officers that are left that are willing, they want to stay here, they want to be here. And then we hire. We look at the long term. Champion's very enticing. This is a great community, as you all know. Great schools, pretty safe. You know, we do a good job. They want to be here because they like this community. Just yesterday we had a job fair at Kent State, and we couldn't hand out applications fast enough. so that we have young officers graduating these academies that want to come here. And that's what, you start them young. Yes, unfortunately, some agencies are nothing but like theater programs, kind of like the Cleveland Indians used to be with the Yankees. Yeah, they go off the beer money, but now we're starting to not see as much. Sergeant Wasco in the back can tell you, he lives in Lordstown. He's been offered a job at Lordstown many, many times. Sergeant Wasco, are you the league champion? No. He likes it. We have a good community. So, shine the good points, and hopefully we bring more officers in.
So I would like to tell you that when we talked about with the trustees, we looked at different options for how much we should try to look at a tax levy for. $413,000 is going to help us start to right the ship and get back to where we're covering our expenses. I went out and I looked at about 5 years out. You have to remember that everything is going up. All the expenses are going up as well. So when I went out and did a lot of calculations on where that's going to be in 5 years, there's not going to be that much excess in that amount of money. And the other thing is we are not today including any money for capital. So any of the needs that we have, if we need to replace a police vehicle or some of the expenses that the police has for capital, none of that's in our budget today because we need to use that for the other things that we have to have. So I would say, those are two things to keep in mind. There's not a lot of extra in here. I forecast, I don't have a crystal ball, but I know unless you think that in 5 years things are going to be costing less, and I don't know about that. I tried to put a swag on it. I couldn't tell you the number I used, but I went through some calculations, and we arrived after discussions with the trustees thinking that this was a fair amount to be asking, because we also realize we're asking our residents to give more, but a number that hopefully is going to get us through 5 years. That's the other thing. We don't want to propose something that we do and then come back and say, well, 3 years from now or 2 years from now, say, well, we're out of money again. So it's a difficult thing. We sat down, did some calculations, had a lot of discussions, and we feel that this is the best number that's fair to our residents, as fair as it can be when we're having to ask for extra funding. Trustees, do you want to, anything you have to say about that? Okay. Okay. Any other questions? And I guess if there's people here also, as Martha was mentioning, if you want to see Martha, maybe talk to her about some of these things. Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry.
When does this fiscal year end?
This fiscal year ends at the end of December.
Thank you.
That's December 31st. Any other questions?
What can we as members of the community do to make people more aware in the community?
Well, we've had a lot of conversations about that.
Sell the good things that you see. That's what I tell. Again, I'm the real estate agent, I guess. I try to sell the good things that our officers are doing. Sell the good things. Unfortunately, there's a lot of negativity around Facebook in this community. Most of it lies. So I try to say, hey, double that up with goodness. Pick the good things out to tell your neighbors about what you see. You see that officer changing a tire on the side of the road or helping a lady, or boy, our community seems safe. Sell them. That's what I ask of you. I ask of you personally to say. And I know the trustees and I know the fire chief says the same thing. We need to continue to promote the good things that Champion has.
Yeah, and I think that the police department is going to have some levy signs that are available if you're interested in that. The flyers that are made up, I hope that has captured some of the basic information that you've seen tonight. If you have other questions or something else that I did not include in that flyer that you would like to talk to me about, I'm available here and be glad to talk to you about that. But those flyers, we can provide more if you want to share those with some of your family, friends, or residents. Outside of that, we've talked a lot about how do we communicate. We're trying to do a better job of inviting our public in. I think we have a nice space to do it in. Very happy that we have this opportunity to even have this conversation tonight. We're trying to do a better job of communicating information and sharing with the community. If you're also interested in volunteering, we have a lot of opportunities for those things as well. So I don't know if you guys want to add anything to that or how they can help.
I just think there's a couple things that need said and understood as we sit here tonight. Number one, there was not a single penny of any money spent on this facility that could have been used to shore up the police department any further than we did. So you're going to hear that said throughout this campaign, 100% false. We used the money that we could, injected that into the police department, along with the road department and the fire department, not just the police department. And we did use ARP money for some of the purchase for this facility you're sitting in tonight. Number two thing, if for some reason we filled every commercial building in the township with tenants tomorrow, which we're not realtors and we don't have the ability to do, that would not change any amount of money that's collected by the township for taxes. We don't collect money because businesses move into buildings. We do not have an income tax on employees. So filling commercial buildings does not help us. It helps the appearance of the township, but it does not help fund our departments.
Nor do
So-
you have the ability to do the income tax as a township statutorily.
Exactly. And the other thing I want to say is that as your board of trustees, we continue to work for the township to find funding solutions for all the departments. And that's just not a police situation. We continue to work to try to fund fire and roads also. So we hope to have some exciting news soon. We're not to that point, but that still will not help the situation that our police department faces today. So this is not a scare tactic, and you're going to hear people say that too. Well, they've said this before, and nothing's going to change. I'm here to tell you, you're looking at the numbers. We are at that point now that we can't go much further without this. So if you're in support of the levy, we certainly would appreciate you talking to your friends, to your neighbors. Make sure you come out and vote. Either way, I mean, that's your right. We expect people to come vote. And other than that, I don't have anything else.
Yeah, I would like to mention, we talked about $413,000, and it's possible that even if this levy were to pass, the first collection of that would actually, we would not get the total amount. We'd have to use that to pay off some loans, because right now, I pulled ahead our taxes right now because the police was out of money so that I could pay bills. So we're pulling ahead. So when we pull ahead or we take out loans, if this levy passes, we're going to have to pay that back. So we may not even start out with the full amount by the time, should the levy pass, that we would start to get the money. So I don't think, honestly, I got to tell you, I don't think there's a lot of excess in there. But again, I don't have a crystal ball. I think it's about as fair as we could make it when you look at the numbers and what you think, what we're going to do with it. So, okay. Any other questions?
When this levy passes, when are we going to see an increase in our taxes that we have to pay?
So I was looking at the levy language on the Board of Elections. It's set for